Now we're up to JJK chapter 258. And in 257, usually land what I have to think is a record number of black flashes, right? 7 or 8, I think somewhere around that number. But in this chapter, I think the King of Curses is back, right?
Mhm.
But what I want to ask you is, I know we've been going through that gauntlet, and Gege sets it up every time we think the heroes may be winning. Sukuna comes back, right? So we've been going through that back and forth gauntlet. Does this time feel any different, or does it feel just like we're in the same cliche to you?
Good question. I do think it's somewhat of the same cliche, but I think they Gege kind of ramped it up a bit, right?
Mhm.
Especially with Yuji's awakening. We kind of got a backstory with that. This chapter is very interesting because although, Yuji got the upper hand, especially that last chapter, it seems like this chapter, Sukuna seems to be pulling out all the stops because he ends the chapter with either furnace open or of course divine flame open, depending on how it was translated in your
Right.
country. He finally, so the black box reveal is finally here. He's showing the flame, which seems to tie into his curse technique. Has a relation with cleave and dismantle.
Yep.
So it seems like we're probably getting to the conclusion of the fight because he opens up his domain. His domain wasn't necessarily fully completed because he's battling some injuries. I would say somewhat cliche, but
Okay.
there's a little bit of spice added on to it, you know.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I do think it feels a little cliche, but I think the twist is they're gonna give us something to tug on the emotional strings, and I think someone's gonna get clipped. I don't know if you remember a few videos back, I asked you, how do you feel about Chozo? And I was like, I'm like, Chozo's that character that the fans love enough that if he dies, it has some kind of emotional effect. And we got a lot of Chozo dialogue asking about reverse curse technique and how it works, and him trying to compare it to, I guess, what he does with the blood manipulation to heal himself. It
Right.
kind of made me feel like this is a setup for, of course, the flame arrows coming, and that Chozo maybe takes it for Yuji and sacrifices himself for the greater good. But it was just funny to me because I was asking you, I'm like, how do you feel about Chozo? Because I like Chozo. You say you didn't really care too much for him,
Yeah.
but
Don't care too much
just
about
from what I feel and get from the community, seems like he's a well-liked character amongst the community. He's Yuji's big bro. You know what I'm saying? He
it.
might be Yuji's big bro more than Toto's Yuji's big bro. You
Yeah.
know,
He cares more for Yuji than I would say Toto does for Yuji, it seems like,
you know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
feel like obviously everyone can't survive this, right? But I don't know if I feel like the fight is coming to a conclusion because we still have Akari and Urume out there somewhere. Like
Mhm.
something has to happen there unless someone from this fight just clips one of them, and then we don't have to see that fight anymore. So I don't feel like a
True.
conclusion, but I feel like this is another turning point in the fight. So I do think we still have a while left to go, because I could be wrong here, but I do feel like the heroes will prevail somehow. So,
Mhm.
but I feel like Sukuna has put their backs against the rope, pretty far against the ropes now, that they're going to have to come off the ropes. And I think it's going to take them a little while to get back into control, unless, and this is a big unless, Yuta Okotsu is about to, hop in, because we haven't seen Yuta. I haven't been seeing any Yuta's dead theories. I feel like we all think Yuta's still alive. How about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I think Yuta is definitely still alive. Going back to the bodies, was Yui doing with the bodies? It was interesting because we actually got, a reveal of his actual ability.
Mm-hmm.
The soul swap was not in fact Yuji's ability, it was in fact Yui's ability. So that was very interesting. And
Yeah.
it kind of give us a sense of kind of what they were doing in that time skip, right? And it kind of falls in line with what you were saying in the last video where you said, when Yuta said, yo, we cheated, right? And it's funny because that was their version of cheating, right? With Yui allowing souls to swap in bodies and kind of learn certain abilities. And that's how you see Yuji using the Kusakabe's technique, right? So that was pretty interesting for
Yeah.
me.
Let me ask a question that I'm sure everyone's thinking. So in that time where they were training,
Mhm.
that is pre Gojo Sukuna fighting, correct?
Correct.
Do you think anyone swapped themselves into Gojo's body?
That's a good question. To like learn, probably not. I don't know. Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I
What
don't think
about
so.
Yuta? Because they're from the same lineage or clan. Maybe he can
Hmm.
hone some of the techniques that Gojo possesses.
Yeah, possibly because Yui was only he mentioned he can do it twice, and that's if it's like a round trip type of ordeal. So that means if he's able to do it, he subsequently can do it kind of one way, 2 times, especially and if it in a 1 month span. And I don't know what the time skip is. I think the time skip is over a month. So if it's 2 months, then I would definitely say that's a plausible theory, 100%. And
Mm,
that's a good theory, though. That's a good theory. It might be a possibility. It
yeah.
might be.
And you know what else it makes me think of? We spoke about this off camera. I was like, the craziest thing would be Sukuna just being in control, and then we just flip the page and we just see the word purple, right?
Yeah.
And then, but like, what if somebody else, like, obviously, just for the coping of the fans, if it was Gojo, it'd be insane, right? But,
Insane.
but like on a more maybe realistic realm, based on the reveals we got, what if Yuta was able to, encompass some of these techniques? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But so I don't know. Obviously, if Gojo does purple is up here. If Yuta does it, it's still crazy, but it's not the same as Gojo, because you got the
I
coping
agree.
fan,
I agree.
myself included, because I can't even lie. I still love what's going on, but the dynamic of Gojo and Sukuna, I just feel like it's been unparalleled. Like I haven't read anything since that. So, I don't know. It just something about his character with Sukuna, like the dynamic to him and Sukuna is like I miss it. I miss it.
And it's funny too, right? Because even in this chapter, what was interesting is Sukuna uses Gojo's sign to activate his domain, which
Hmm.
shows the impact Gojo had on Sukuna himself, right? So it's interesting that you bring up that dynamic between those two because I'm not gonna lie, it is unparalleled. It's just different.
Me personally, now I'm kind of like, yeah, I want to see Gojo come back, but it's not just because like not because it's my favorite character. I just want.
Mhm,
I don't know. I just want to see the fight again, like because,
mhm.
like I said, everything we've gotten since is still exciting, but bro, those chapters were just a different level.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Obviously, I want Jujutsu to go out on the highest of high. You know what I mean? But also, just to be realistic in the story, I'm just wondering, can anyone really do anything significant enough to Sukuna that's not Gojo? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I mean, the only thing that's really favoring the good guys at this point is the fact that Sukuna is somewhat waning, and now we're starting to see his tricks, and we may get a reveal into his actual abilities and how it works in the
Hmm.
next chapter. But I don't know. I don't see this battle prolonging even between Sukuna and the good guys for more than 4 to 5 chapters. I think it only probably has 4 to 5 chapters left. I could be wrong about that, but I don't see how they can just continue to, because then
Yeah.
Sukuna's starting to show he's what else can he pull out the bag, right? Like it's they might just put like that little buffer in between and go to Orume versus Hikari,
Yeah.
to kind of drag it out before we kind of get that merger. But
Hmm.
I don't see Sukuna really lasting too much.
So you
Unless
think you think
ask.
it you think sorry to cut you off. You think we're approaching the end of this fight, but do you think that will also be the end of the story, or you think there's more story, at least a
Oh no,
little
it's
bit?
more story for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more story.
Got you, got you,
Absolutely.
got you, got you. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool,
It's
cool,
more
cool,
story.
cool. That makes sense then. Okay, but just overall as a chapter, not where you rate it, because we don't really rate the chapters, but did you enjoy the chapter? Did you kind of feel like, okay, this was a throwaway? Where does this sit with you?
I think it was a good chapter. You know how a chapter ends and you're like, okay, it's kind of anticlimactic or we're not really getting much. It's kind of like, oh, okay, another boost or another awakening. This one was kind of like, okay, we're finally getting somewhere where we're finally seeing Sukuna bring out the flames again. And this is something that we've talked about
Mhm.
for months. And this is the flame that took out Maharaga, right? So now, like you mentioned, someone might get clipped next chapter. So
Oh, someone's gonna
we're
get
just gonna
clipped.
wait. Yeah, yeah. So now we're just waiting to see how that's gonna happen. So overall, I enjoyed the chapter, but I kind of wanted more. But we'll wait and see. How about
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought it was a good chapter. I really liked some of the reveal. I like the action, but I also like the dialogue of finding out more about Ui Ui, Chozo just asking questions. Yuta and I forgot who else was like, "Oh, we just do it on the fly,"
Yeah,
before actually getting a thorough explanation of the use of the blood. in the reverse curse technique. So I like some of the backstory, some of the reveals, and just the action itself. Like you said, it was a well drawn chapter, well drawn. Like reading it, you can kind of feel Sukuna's presence.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so make sure you guys like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel. But tell us what you think about JJK 258. Tell us some of the craziest theories you guys hear out there, or some that you guys have formulated yourself. What you think is coming next? Really looking forward to the next, I think 259. But I do think we're on a break next week, so we'll probably have to let 258 marinate for a while before we hop into that 259.